Good morning, Ninja Clan. It's Lupine Fiasco here with some more FaB gameplay for you, played through the Talistar client. Today we've got a game against Azalea. We're still on our Emberblade list, and we have a new strategy today. Something that makes a lot of sense in hindsight, but that I've just never done before, which is to stay fully aggressive, keep D-reacts out of the list. We could be a little more aggressive if we wanted to board in a third flame, call in a third Phoenix Flame, but for so long I thought, well, it's Azalea, she dominates, you bring in your D-reacts, but what was pointed out to me makes a lot of sense. It's on Azalea's best turns, but she's got 3 laces or seek and destroys and throws a dominated red in the ledger at you. It's coming in for 14 damage. With a Synclone arsenal, a 3 block in hand, reinforce the line, that's still only blocking for 11, and then you also need to give armor to stop it, and then you only have 2 cards left in your hand. There's no point, so might as well just play full aggro, set up a 5-card hand, and hope that she bricks at some point. Here we see Azalea is on Sandscour Greatbow. This build is a lot weaker than the Death Dealer build, at least against us. You saw a Murkmire Grapnel in there. This build was great against Oldhim, a lot of attacks with damage that can't be prevented. Being able to go a little bit wider in a turn than Death Dealer Azalea can, but at least playing against us, this is not something I'm super concerned about. And we see Azalea does flip into a attack buff rather than an arrow, so we get a free turn with a Spreading Flames and a blue in hand. Pretty good turn for us. We're not going to break Pouncing Links this turn. Azalea is definitely too high for that. I do want to talk a bit about Mask of the Pouncing Links. This turn is playing itself out, so I'll introduce the point now and bring us back to it later, which is Pouncing Links gains value the longer you wait to use it. You don't want to wait too long. You don't want to fall into a situation where you have to block with it. Pouncing Links' floor is 5 damage, and that is the value of a Lava Burst that is not getting a Shuko Trigger or Art of War or Spreading Flames. So, with the floor being 5, blocking with Pouncing Links for 2 is terrible, and you would have rather used it, so you don't want to wait too long. But at the same time, it gains value the longer the game goes, because your opponent is now more incentivized to block things that they really shouldn't. When a Phoenix Flame in the late game represents 7 damage, because it would hit and you would break Pouncing Links and find a Lava Burst and attack for 6. That's really good, and now your opponent needs to block your Phoenix Flames, which is not something they would normally want to do. So we saw on that last turn I could have broken Pouncing Links for 6 damage. Lava Burst would have been 6, Salt the Wound would have been 6. You'll excuse me while I pause for a minute to let my cat out of the office. Bun is a sweet boy, and I love him very much. So we could have broken Pouncing Links for 6 there. It's higher than the floor, but a bit lower than what we would want. But really, for a general rule of thumb, I think of Pouncing Links. Breaking Pouncing Links for 5 points of damage when your opponent is at 10 is worth more than breaking it for 10 points of damage when your opponent is at 40. And we'll revisit this point. Just keep in mind, yes, Azalea could be at 18 right now. But we'll see Pouncing Links be more important later in the game. It is, we get red in the ledger, we can't block it, it has Dominate. So we take the hit, we throw a Blaze Headlong for 4, arsenal a Rising Resentment, and just wait for an opportunity to do something later. Here we are getting Seek and Destroy at Inertia. We double can't keep a card in Arsenal, and there is a Remorseless on top of it. So let's pause here while we do some math. This Remorseless does not have Dominate, so in theory we could block with our entire hand. We have all 3 blocks, which is a really, really great hand to block with. Keeping in mind that we have a Rising Resentment in Arsenal, we have a number of blues, so we can always Rising Resentment, Emberblade, pick up our Phoenix Flame, go for 7, potentially even break Pouncing Links to find another 6. Azalea is not going to have a card in Arsenal. There is no Ponder token here, so Command and Conquer is not really where we want to be this turn. Let's ignore the Remorseless, ignore the on-hits. What is the most damage we can do with this hand? Rising Resentment is 3, Lava Fan Loyalty is 4, pitching the Stab Wound for Emberblade is 7, we can pick up a Phoenix Flame for 8, we can then play Command and Conquer for 14 points of damage. And if we wanted to throw a Pouncing Links in there, let's call it 20. No, excuse me, let's call it 19. It might be 20. I don't think I counted the Shuko trigger for this one. It's 20 damage. It puts our Azalea to 4. We take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus 11. We take 16 points of damage to do this line. Taking 16 to threaten 20, we spend some equipment to do it. That's good. We're up 10 points of life, so we could do that. But it's just damage. There's no disruption attached to it. 20 damage from a 5-card hand is really, it's good. Definitely above rate. 4 points of value per card available to us is really, really good. We would like to get more out of a 5-card hand, and we really don't want to take 16 points of damage to do it. So let's take Command and Conquer off the table because there's no disruption here. It doesn't hit anything in Arsenal. We block with Command and Conquer, and if we're blocking with Command and Conquer, we really don't need another blue. We already have 3 of them, so we can block with Stab Wound too. So already we are blocking 6. We've really dropped the maximum value of damage in our hand. So without these 2 cards, we're looking at 3, 4, 7, 9. We get our Shuko trigger as well. So we're getting 9 points of damage if we keep these 2 blues. We are taking 5 damage from the Remorseless here, plus 3 on our turn from the trigger. So we're taking 8 points of damage to deal 9. That's a much worse rate. I really don't like the way that sounds. What happens if we block with a Soul Bead Strike as well? Well, now we only have Rising Resentment, Emberblade, Phoenix Flame. We're pushing 7 points of damage. We are taking 4 points of damage on our turn. Taking 1 from the Resentment, 1 from the Phoenix Flame. We also have the opportunity to break Pouncing Links, so we could send 13 points of damage and take 3 plus the 2 here, take 5 total. Puts us to 29. If we're threatening 11, it puts Azalea to 13. I've said in past videos that the best thing to do against Ranger is to be aggressive when you have the opportunity to do so. In this case, I am inclined to block 9, send 7, see how Azalea does or doesn't block, to decide if I want to break Pouncing Links. But I like being defensive here. I don't think this hand does enough to warrant us taking 16 points of damage. Taking 20, dealing 16 is a difference of 4 points of value. That's the best rate we have, unless we take the line of, unless we're breaking our Pouncing Links. Though on this line of keeping our entire hand and taking 16 points of damage, we have to break Pouncing Links in order for this to be profitable. If we don't break Pouncing Links, we're actually only dealing 14. We're taking 15 to do it. We're at a deficit here. All of this is to say, without committing ourselves to using Pouncing Links, our best value line is to block 9, deal 7, and decide how we want to proceed with our Pouncing Links, if we want to break it and get our 6 points of damage, or if we want to save it and try to set something up on a later turn. But we are playing the value game right now against Azalea. And this is the way to do it. Just how much can we block? How much can we attack? What is the most damage we can deal with 5, 4, 3, 2 cards in hand? What's the best rate for damage we're dealing versus damage we're taking? Do we want to use Pouncing Links? Do we not want to use Pouncing Links? We could fully block out this 11. If we block with 3/3 blocks and our Furnace, we are blocking 11. That prevents 4 damage that we would take, potentially 5 if we go with Pouncing Links. The problem with that is we're at such a high life total, and Remorseless is not an on-hit that I particularly care about at this point in the game. We aren't going really wide on our turn. So we're only taking 2 or 3 damage from the trigger. I would rather save Furnace to potentially block a red in the ledger, potentially block an infecting shot, something that matters a little bit more than what we're looking at here. Here I'm just doing the math on my end, trying to calculate, well, if I keep the Lava Vein Loyalty, how much damage is that worth? Take our Inertia. It won't matter here. We are just going to play out these 2 cards, or play out Rising Resentment, pitch the Lava Vein Loyalty. Azalea giving us a blue to block. We'll see if she blocks this one as well. But already, I am less inclined to break my Pouncing Links here. This doesn't seem like it's going to be a great turn from Azalea. I think she would be inclined to block a Lava Burst if I found it, so I would rather wait. Again, 6 points of damage is a good amount of damage, but she has 3 cards in hand, she has Perch Grapplers available, she just used a Tunic. This game probably won't last long enough that the Azalea feels inclined to keep the Tunic around. She could give it up for blocks. So I don't feel like 6 here is really presenting a difficult choice to Azalea. She'll just block whatever she can and move on. An interesting hand here. We would certainly love a blue, but as it is, we don't have one. Seeing Codex come down, looking at Seek and Destroyed Seek and Destroyed, Blood Rot Pox, Undominated, Retina Ledger. We just want to block with what we can. We don't get to keep an Art of War, so we'll actually pause here and just think about what we can do. The obvious choice is going to be Command and Conquer. Azalea does have the Ponder token. We have an Art of War that we can pitch to the Command and Conquer. So Command and Conquer looks good here. Probably the only thing I would consider. If this wasn't Red in the Ledger, if it was something like a Remorseless, we could talk about trying to put something together with our Flame Call, pitch the Art of War, play Mounting, play the Flame Call, get a Phoenix Flame. Maybe we can do something with Lava Burst and try to double finish on this turn, but it being Red in the Ledger, Command and Conquer is just the best thing we can do. So we're going to pick up CNC, we're going to discard any of these three. They all block 2, this decision doesn't matter. We'll block with the other 2, we'll CNC for 5 on our turn, and then try again after that. We're just mitigating damage here, keeping in mind that we cannot keep a card in Arsenal because of the Seek and Destroy. So we'll take the opportunity to throw some disruption back at Azalea and hope for the best, really. Getting Perch Grapplers and Remorseless was a pretty quick block from Azalea, so I can't imagine that she does not have heat coming our way, but we'll just hope for the best. Azalea flipping into Spire Sniping is really fortunate for us. Dominated Spire Sniping is not something that I'm concerned about. There are no on-hits that she can present that I am particularly worried about. Now, if there was something like a Codex of Frailty, that might be of concern. But 10 dominated Spire Sniping with inertia on it is something we can deal with. And our hand is okay for the crackback. It isn't the best hand we've ever seen, but it's all right. We're not looking to block here. We'll go down to 10. Our turn plays itself just a bit. Rising Resentment, Blaze Headlong, Searing Emberblade, Phoenix Flame, Soulbeat Strike. At some point, we would like to work Pouncing Links in here. We are getting to that part of the game where Azalea is low enough that she's going to have to start blocking things that she wouldn't necessarily want to block. We'll throw our Emberblade first to see if we can bait a 3-block from Azalea before we throw our Blaze Headlong. Notably, Emberblade does not trigger Pouncing Links. It should be fairly obvious if you play the card, especially if you're playing on Talishar. Talishar will not prompt you if you hit with a weapon, but just something to know if you're new to FaB, if you're sitting down for an event in paper. Weapons cannot trigger either mask, really, but in this case, notably cannot trigger Pouncing Links. Grabbing Salt the Wound, it has the potential to deal more damage on this turn. We have a Blaze Headlong, we have a Soulbeat Strike. These both hit breakpoints that Azalea cannot reach unless she wants to give us armor. And if Azalea wants to give us a Spring Tunic to stop this damage, that's fine by me. Spring Tunic would have had an activation on the next turn. So here you see the power of waiting for Pouncing Links. Yes, it did take our Snapdragons to make this happen, but we're going to push 5 points of damage here. We got our Shuko trigger. Lava Burst would have been better damage-wise, but we also got all of Azalea's hand, and we got her Spring Tunic. We're in a great spot here. This is a bit awkward for us, as now we have to make a choice. We are going to take the riskier option, give +1. The consideration here is that Blaze Headlong does not currently have Go Again, and if we don't draw something, a red card with Go Again, then we are in a potentially bad spot. We do get lucky with the Brain of the Cinderclaw. Something to keep in mind as we are progressing through this turn, we only have one Phoenix Flame in our graveyard. So the highest damage line here is to Blaze Headlong, pick up our Phoenix Flame, and then bottom it to Enlightened Strike. That is riskier because we don't have a Phoenix Flame left. I've made a point on this channel of saying don't block, don't bottom, pitch, banish your only Phoenix Flame if you aren't going to win on the spot. This is a situation where I feel like we can break that rule a bit. Blocking this Enlightened Strike for 8, assuming Azalea has all arrows, or at least close enough. This takes 3 cards out of her hand and leaves her at 2. That's very easily killable on our side of the table. If Azalea had had multiple 2 blocks, that potentially takes 4 cards out of her hand to not be dead. I feel good about using the Phoenix Flame there for Enlightened Strike because it just puts Azalea into a spot where she completely loses tempo unless we really whiff on our turn, which even then is unlikely. So that's the game. I feel good about this new sideboard strategy of keeping defense reactions out of the deck. I think we got pretty lucky with this matchup. Sandscour Greybow Azalea is a much better matchup for FaB. Our Azalea had a couple of turns where she didn't really do anything that we cared about. And that might not happen in future games. We are going to have our Azalea games where it's just red in the ledger, big remorseless. But what I agree with at this point is defense reactions aren't going to help in those games either. Because even if we block out any of those effects, we don't get a turn of our own. So stay full aggro, catch your Azalea on an off turn, blow her up from there. Hope you all enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe down below. I really enjoy hearing from all of you. Enjoy growing the channel, getting more people involved with FaB, getting more people included in our little ninja clan here. If you have any matchups that you're having trouble with and you want me to seek out on Talishar, I'm happy to do so. Just let me know. But otherwise, I will see you all back here tomorrow for more FaB gameplay. Take care.